Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. I only remember the Dr. Strangelove bit, and let's be honest, most people only rate that part. Dr. Strangelove is a very odd film in that it is, well, it's a satire of the fear of nuclear armaments of its time. So in that sense, it's actually a little bit out of sync with us now, but I think that's kind of the main drive for satire, but also one of its failings is that it tends not to age particularly well based on the fact that you have to understand what the meaning of it is within that era. It's satirizing something that you already know. If you're not from that era, you don't always know it. So there will be a little research needed for anyone who's kind of young going into Dr. Strangelove. But that being said, the comedy it does very well, and we're kind of driving into a weird state right now where we don't know if we're going to go back to war. So Dr. Strangelove might become more relevant again as we keep moving forwards. A very strange Kubrick film in that he didn't really do comedies very often. At least not the ones that I've seen. A lot of the ones I've seen have been like 2001: A Space Odyssey and The Shining, and, they tended to be a little bit more serious. Dr. Strangelove doesn't really do that. I'll be honest, this is a film that I would love to watch again just to kind of get a little bit more out of it, because I didn't know as much when I watched it as I do now. So I would love to watch it again to get all of those little details. Peter Sellers doing the 3 roles threw me when I first watched it, but, I mean, they are all distinct. It's very strange that he plays 2 roles in the same room. You'd have thought they would have cast 2 people. Though I have to say, the MVP of this film, the best person in this film, wasn't Peter Sellers for me. And it wasn't Slim Pickens, though I do love Slim Pickens. My favourite, I can't remember the actor's name, he played the general who ends up pratfalling quite a bit around the place. He's just like, "The bomb the bastards" kind of guy. That actor, I looked him up a while ago. I just wish I could remember his name, but it's eluding me right now. I thought he was phenomenal, and I would have loved to have seen him in more stuff. But yeah, do love myself some Doctor Strangelove. Grand Budapest Hotel, Wes Anderson. I've not seen a lot of Wes Anderson, but I do remember this film very distinctly. As you can see here, this kind of flat on, almost looks like a Monty Python animation there. But the Grand Budapest Hotel is a great showcase. If you're trying to get into Wes Anderson, this is a good way in, because Wes Anderson's direction is kind of somewhat, it's more like a framing paintings, which is why this is actually probably a perfect artwork for the front. Everything is almost mathematical. The camera is almost always centered. He goes into that old school way that actually I think Charlie Chaplin did a lot for certain visual effects and things like that, where the screen is set up more like a stage, and people can go left and right, but they can also go in and out, and the camera doesn't move to accommodate it. It's more like, this is your set, this is where the characters are and where they're going, where their direction of travel is, and you just basically watch what they're going to do. One of the big parts of this is when Ralph Fiennes realises that, oh, you've come to arrest me, and then just runs into the hotel. The camera doesn't follow. Usually in a film, the camera would follow. There'd be a bit of a chase sequence. But it adds to the comedy that the camera just stays there as he disappears into the background. And it's always so meticulously framed. It's almost like an Art Deco painting in every frame. So yeah, I need to see more Wes Anderson, but this is definitely a perfect introduction to that man if you've not already started watching. Come and See is a very interesting film. Belarusian film with about, oh God. I've only watched this recently and it still harrows me watching it. It's probably the most effective war movie I've seen. Lots of people have seen things like Schindler's List and things like that, and they are very harrowing, they are very good, but they have an element of Hollywood gloss and that element of pushing you away a little bit so you can appreciate the artistry rather than being too involved. And arguably, you could say that's right for something like Schindler's List. You don't really want to feel like, oh, I'm in the concentration camp. That may be considered distasteful. Come and See does not care. Come and see. He goes, right, here's a little boy who wants to go, hey, I'm in the army with my little fake gun. Oh, I found a real one. Well, in the army you go. And what's weird about the film is there's bits of the film that, in a way, kind of shouldn't work. Because there's, certainly early on, there's elements where he meets this girl and it's almost like a fantasy. It's almost overblown with the lighting and things like that. It's almost too fantastical. But I think, weirdly enough, if it didn't have those sequences, what it does next wouldn't work, which is shows you the brutal reality of how the Nazis destroyed Belarus on their way through to Russia. This actor, he looks like an old man there. That's not unlike the film. This was filmed, I believe, mostly in sequence, if not entirely. This boy was about 14, and when he starts, he is very fresh-faced. By the end, he looks haggard. And don't get me wrong, there's obviously an element of it that's makeup. It ain't all makeup. This boy looks rough. But honestly, there's bits where the Nazis, I won't go too much into, because I think people should watch this relatively without the introduction, but there are parts where the Nazis are doing things, they're firebombing something, and when that happens, your heart just sinks, and you feel the anger, the hatred, the fear, the injustice of it comes straight through the camera. This is probably one of the most effective of the war films I've ever seen. I didn't realise it was so recent, 1985, until I'd actually seen it. Because I was like, oh, war film, probably sort of a 60s film. It's not shot in a very modern way, even for the 80s. It looks kind of dated. But that adds to it because it feels rough, and that is the journey you're going on. You are not going into a glossy journey. You're not walking into the next Mission Impossible, and it's like, hey, everything's shiny. Everything sucks. So don't expect upbeat, but if you do want something that will harrow you, this is one of those films. If you're having a laugh and having a fine conversation about, what the weather's like by the end of it, you weren't watching the film.
One of the earliest recorded extractions. Many a life was lost to bring this into my hands.
And so into mine.
You wouldn't know what to do with it.
Show me.
But it's not for you, is it? See, I wouldn't want to reveal his secrets too soon. Do you even know what this trinket contains? Empathy. The spirit of understanding. Something starkly absent from your generation, clearly. Sealed inside are the emotional memories of a woman that held life and death in her hands every single day. Removed in her dying moments for you to own. Well,
a little bit more in my niche trend now, because as Steve knows, I've watched a huge array of weirdly niche stuff. Ghost Dog definitely classifies the way of the samurai. This is a weird thing. This shares something in common with a Johnny Depp film that's also black and white called Dead Man, where he's a dying man, and he's kind of ends up with this Native American guy who's helping him out. Both that, and he appears in this film as well as a weird through thread. In both films, he has the words, "stupid fucking white man," in both films. And so when I ended up watching, I think I watched this second. No, I watched that one second. And he came up and was like, oh, it's that guy from Ghost Dog. And then he goes, "stupid fucking white man." I'm like, that's the same line. Like, it's... I need to check if it's the same writer. Because was just like, I can't believe you hired the guy. Is that his one role? I've never seen him in anything else. I swear he just did like a spate of small films to call white men stupid and then buggered off. And I'm like, yeah, fair play to you. But Ghost Dog is a surprisingly good film, considering that it's kind of a weird mishmash of cultural identities. Obviously, it's Forrest Whitaker, so he's a black guy. It's shown in the film that he comes from sort of a poor American background. He adopts the ways of the samurai, which obviously is a completely different cultural base. But he's putting all of that to use for the Italian mob, who are in their sort of final throes. And so you've got this weird mishmash of, you know, Italian-American, hey, what's up? It's Forrest Whitaker kind of walking around with the RZA playing as his theme tune, which is very black, and then he's just like, the way of the samurai and the art. And you're like, okay, we're just throwing everything in. Brilliant. I absolutely love this film. It's, you know, he does all this work for the mob via this guy who he contacts only via passenger pigeon. And when it turns out one of the hits goes wrong because they've given him the wrong target or whatever, they need to, it's like, well, our way to pay penance is we've got to kill the guy that made the kill. And that'll prove that we're all right. So they then start going on a hunt to try and kill him. And it's kind of, I suppose it's a proto John Wick in that sense. I mean, John Wick isn't a unique idea to begin with, but it's got kind of got that element to it. It's the man comes for him, so he comes for the man. Yeah, I absolutely love this film. It's very stylish, very unique. I haven't actually seen any other films by Jim Jarmusch, but I will now look him up and try and see if there's any more. Hey? Oh, is Dead Man also by... So Steve has informed me that Jim Jarmusch also did Dead Man, which probably explains why we've still got the same guy going, stupid fucking white man. Brilliant. Well, at least I wasn't lost, Steve, on that one. I got it correct. Parasite. My version of Parasite is a regular release, not a Criterion, so I was not aware of this weird design. But that's cool. I like that. That's very interesting. Yeah, Parasite is a very weird film in that it somehow caught the public zeitgeist quite a lot, despite being, I think it was probably one of the first times, I think it's Korean. Korean. I think it was one of the first times a Korean movie had caught on in the West, and I think when it came out, kind of helped because it came out over here roughly around the time of the pandemic or just towards the start of it. And so people were locked at home and, I'll give that a try. Watched it. It's a brilliant film. And we started noticing a trend, obviously, throughout the 2020s of Korean cinema and Korean TV. Squid Games is a good example of that as well. Sort of coming up through Netflix and things like that, where people wouldn't normally go out and buy a Korean film, where it's now already on Netflix, and they're like, I've watched everything else because pandemic and got no job and whatever. They started going, I'll watch this Korean thing then. Watched it and went, oh my God, there's a brilliant film in here. Parasite is definitely, I think, one of the main reasons for that rise, certainly right at the start. A harrowing film, actually, about working class, a kind of weird working class family finding their way into a privileged home and then basically squatting, but it all going very, very badly wrong. I've been watching a bit of Korean cinema before Parasite came along, but Parasite is definitely where Korean cinema hit into kind of more of a mainstream. And yeah, honestly, I'm so glad this came along because it made such a big change in how cinema is now viewed, certainly foreign cinema to the West. I'll end on a simple measure. WALL-E. I really didn't expect Criterion to release this one because, well, it's Disney and Pixar, but I guess, yeah, I don't know if they've done any more than this, but WALL-E is an interesting movie in that I absolutely loved the first half, and then I kind of feel that the second half ruins it a little bit. Not completely, it's still a good film, but what I loved about WALL-E was that it's almost a silent film. There's a soundtrack, there's atmospherics, and you get little beeps and boops, but overall there's no one sitting there going, I love you, darling. It's, this little trash robot, seemingly the last one still going, just trying to clean up Earth in a pointless pursuit forever, finding what it thinks is a romantic partner in a brand new, gleaming, white, gorgeous-looking flying robot thing that's doing a check to see if there's any signs of life left on Earth, and their relationship together. For me, that intro, we'll say that first half, is the best part of the film. And I kind of wish they'd had the balls to continue it the whole way through. I know that may have made it a little less accessible for children to some degree. But actually, I remember growing up watching things like Fantasia and things like that. And they didn't need to go, right, well, we've done the big musical bit. Now here's the bit where Donald Duck goes, ah. You just went with it. You're presented with something, and generally children will take that in anyway. Certainly with a Disney name, they know they can trust it's not going to suddenly divert into this weird horror movie like Come and See. It's going to, maintain a certain distance, even if there's elements of it that are impacting. WALL-E was great for that, for the first half. I do want to watch it again, because I want to see... It's always fascinating to see how you can do so much with so little. That's why the more silent element of the first half meant so much to me. As much as I'm not a big fan of the second half of WALL-E, the first half of WALL-E has all of that element throughout it. I do want to watch it again, so if I can see if I've maybe made a miscalculation on the second half. But it just felt a little more too goofy compared to the first half of the movie when I first watched it. But certainly if they're going to do any more conversions of Pixar, that's the sort of thing that I think Criterion would be good to sort of focus on, is the ones that have elements like that are very artistic, very out of left field, but definitely add something to the dialogue of cinema in a way that, maybe more of their popular films tend not to do. So I want to thank Steve for inviting me round to have a look through his massive wall of Criterion. I will say that is not all he's got, because there is a strip of it over there. But we decided I've gone on for way longer than he expected, so we'll just keep it contained over here for now. But no, a lot of brilliant films. There's a lot in here that I didn't go into that I've not yet seen. There's like Afterlife and things like that, which I own and that I'm about to watch, but I've not yet watched, so I didn't want to waste time going, I want to see this. But yeah, fantastic selection of films. The only one I will talk about slightly here, and it's because I've never seen anyone else who owns Criterion who's seen it, including Steve, and it is a Criterion Blu-ray release, is Kung Fu Master. And the reason I've seen that film is I do another podcast channel, which is come to an end at the end of next year, at the beginning of next year, called VGMP, Video Game Movie Podcast. As you can tell by the name, Kung Fu Master is actually named after the game Kung Fu Master in the 80s. It's an Agnes Varda film, and it's not one I like. It's I'll leave it at that. I won't go too much into it, but it's not one I would recommend for damn sure. But if you like, so I've got on my website, cyberpunkstudios.co.uk, loads of different images in the blog section of all the different arcade machines, because I'm a nerd. But yeah, it's one that I've seen that most people who collect Criterion, they go, oh, I've got seen all the Criterions. I'm like, Kung Fu Master? No. So yeah, I have seen that film. It's not one that I would I think I could recommend because of its subject matter. I will just say the tagline is, he's 14, she's 40, age is just a number. You might get an idea of what the subject matter is based on that. It kind of feels weird as well because the main boy, the 14-year-old boy, is actually the director's son, and the main actress who plays the 40-year-old is her best friend. So it kind of feels a little bit like grooming on that sense as well. Now, I could be getting that completely wrong, and I hope I am, but it doesn't feel right. Let's put it that way. But yeah, so that is a film from the Criterion Collection that I would put as a little bit of a but the rest, I've seen so much of this already, and I've not even touched the surface, as you can see. Do come back to this channel, this amazing channel. I've been here with Steve for 5 years, not doing anything for the channel per se, but watching him build and watching his pure love for Criterion and all things movie. I mean, his Criterion collection is a small part of his collection. It's insane, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, no, absolutely. Please do come back and check it out. And if you want to check me out, my name is Rory Joscelyne. I'm also on Cyberpunk Studios, which is at cyberpunkstudios.co.uk, and you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and all things like that. But yeah, thank you very much for tuning in, and I hope, Steve, is able to bring in another guest to go through this wonderful library and talk to you about the films that they like.